I've just, turned on the recording. It's our lecture for 320 on Thursday, the 18th. It is a live web meet, and I will put a recording up when we're done. So, Revit Mass Models. So, I'm going to do a quick review of walls, doors, windows, roofs, and floors. For those of you who have been using VMware Revit on the browser edition of VMware. Some of you have noticed if you try to load something that is not already in the Revit file, if you try to put in a new type of door or new type of window, the library was gone. The library has now been restored. So it's in there and it's working. So you shouldn't have any problems with that. So we're going to make a topo surface, which is a very quick and simple thing to do the way we're going to do it, because I'm not going to be requiring you to do anything in particular. I just want the elevation somewhere like 0 near the building and maybe a 6 to 10 foot drop. And or take a snip. So the question is in the slides where you have to show the windows, doors, do you just need a picture of the doors, windows, or take a snip of your work? Take some snips of your work, and I'll give you an example of that today. So I'll show you how to do that today. Also, special seminar on Monday at noon. If you are able to attend, not just watch the video, but if you're able to attend, I will give you 4 points of credit to replace any single 1 week's submittal. So you can either not do a submittal in the future and say, oh, give me my credit, or you can go, you know what, that one that I got a 3 on, replace that with this for a 4. And so Professor Jeffrey Sacha is going to be presenting to us about water quality and redlining. So we're talking about water quality in another one of my classes. We're making pumps that can do automatic sampling on the river. This is basically a redo of a project that I did with an environmental company from Davis. It was working with Sac Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant, providing the environmental analysis of their effluent. And the guy had to go out in a boat, regardless of the weather, had 2 people on shore, another person in the boat. It's not very safe to just cruise around the Sacramento River on a water sampling boat in all sorts of weather. And so we're doing a remote operated vehicle that can be used from the shore. But and that's really good if you know where you want to take your sampling. But if you don't know where and you can't do it everywhere, you need to find out where it's going to do the most good. And so we're interested in how to find that out. And it turns out, for those of you who know what redlining is, that if you follow the redlining maps, you know exactly where to go to get your water samples for places that need fix-ups. And there's a whole part of the EPA and the planning departments that there's a whole process for fixing up these areas that have bad river water. Okay, this is open running water that many people get their water from. As a matter of fact, there's a set of commercial towers in Chicago that are taking over 11 million gallons a day from one of the rivers that's feeding into the lake there. So and they're violating all the rules because they had a waiver up until 2016, but in 2016 their waiver lapsed and they didn't redo it. So now they're on the hook for about $20 million because that's what the fines are, whereas the waiver would have cost about $50,000. Go figure. Anyway, so we're going to talk about water quality and redlining. And no, it's the seminar is actually going to be on Google Meet. But yes, it's a Google Meet seminar, and I will post the I'll post the link for it shortly. Either today or tomorrow. I'll get that link posted, and it'll be a calendar item. So I'll get that to you guys. It'll be really cool. And so here's some articles. If you want to do a little pre-reading, you can check these out. Now, this is required for my other class because that's what the class is about. This class, though, you're gonna do some work on water quality. And so you don't have to read these articles, but they're pretty cool, and some of them are just websites, and it'll give you a little bit of an idea about what's going on with this. And if you don't know what redlining is, you'll hear a little bit about that. But there's a very, very good correlation between bad water and redlined areas, and that's mostly because mortgage companies and banks would not invest in those areas. And if a bank won't invest, it's pretty hard to get infrastructure built. So now we have some big areas that are big messes, but we'll go work on getting them cleaned up. So that's what we're going to go over. That'll be Monday at noon. And I will give you credit of 4 points for any 1 week's submittal on that. And we're going to do another one on March 1st that will be a follow-on. And in that follow-on, you'll get to learn how to use a product called Social Explorer that lets you create maps based on almost anything. It's just this amazing GIS map resource that we can use, and we're trying to get a license for it. I have a license for it right now, but we're trying to get one for the school. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to review walls, windows, doors, roofs, and floors, and then I'm going to make a topo surface. And before we do that, I should go to the submittal, and I'll make a quick copy of it. So there's mine if I spell my name right. There we go. So we'll be able to put some stuff in there. So the first thing I'm looking for, create a model for walls. All right, so let me do that. Here I've got one with walls. So I'm gonna, for a moment, hide my roof, and for a moment I'll hide my floor, and for a moment I'll hide my windows, and for a moment I'll hide my doors. There we go. Oh, that's interesting. The garage door is in a different. There we go. Thought I did that category. There. Okay. So when we look at level 1, oh, that's interesting. I did that all in that other view. Did that in my 3D view. Well, I'm going to go back here, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show walls, and if I come up here, it shows me what wall I've got. Let me go do that again. There we go. And so now if I click on one of these, it lets me see what that wall is, and I can show that I've made some walls and what type of wall I made. So now if I want to, I can go, oh, that was supposed to be a brick wall. So now I've got it listed as a brick wall. And I would put something like that on my presentation. Okay. And then in addition, when I look down here, I might want to show something sort of like that to show that I've done some cool work. So let me do that one too. Because that shows a wall. And it says, okay, I know how to work with a wall. And one of the things I might do is kind of get these to kind of overlap a little bit. So that I've got one large view and then I've got this view. And I could even maybe put something around it to kind of show it a little bit. Okay. And then I could put some notes about it if I want. But there we go. I've got a wall and I'm showing the wall and I'm showing that I've made it from a wall. Okay. So that's how maybe I would do that one. Then I'm supposed to go main model with windows and doors. And then this would be windows and this would be doors. So now I can come back to my Revit and I'll turn on my windows and doors. I don't know why that one. I guess I did those as. There we go. You don't have to do all that hiding and stuff like I did. You don't want to. But now I've got another one, and so I can click on a couple of these to show that those are my windows and doors, maybe. And I'll take a snip of that. To show windows and doors. What do you know? So there we go. And then it says what do architects consider when placing windows and doors? And you can just look that up. It's for you to do a little bit of research on. Okay. But obviously there's distance between, there's framing, there's fire ratings, there's energy ratings, there's appearances. These are all things that architects consider when they're placing the windows and doors. Now I want a look at the windows and doors. So I'll come back over to here and I'll click on a door. And here we go. Here we go. Welcome. Now I've got a cool thing going on here and I can make a new snip to show about doors. So I might do something like that as I'm working along here. There's doors. Okay, and how would I figure out what some important design features are? Well, I might do this edit the type thing and see what it talks about. It's got the wall enclosure type, the door material, the frame material, thickness, height. Oh, this would be a good thing to put in there even. I might even do that. That's kind of cool. Not that you need to, but you might wish to. All sorts of cool things you can put in here to show that you've got some pretty good competence. But you would write here, what are some of those important design features? And you'd either get it from looking at this or looking at that, or maybe you just know, or maybe you just looked it up. So I might do something like that for the windows and the doors and show the main model with the windows and doors. So the next one, oh, roof and floor added. So that one's going to be a little bit harder with the roof and the floor. Hi, Casey. Welcome in. So to do the roof and the floor, I might have to come back in here again, and I guess I have to save my project. And if you were taking these snips as you went, that would be okay. But look, I can sort of see the floor here. So I've got my main model with a roof and a floor. And I can even highlight those things. So now I can see that I've got a roof and a floor. So that's not too bad. And I didn't do a very good snip there, did I? That's a little better. Some standards for the roof design. Well, that's where you'll look things up again. Let's look things up. Let's click on the roof and see what it talks about. There's thermal coefficients and thermal resistance and absorptance and roughness. And then there's things in the structure that you can look at. Physical stuff, wow, things like how many pounds per cubic something there are per cubic foot there are. So those are all specifications about the roof that you might want to put in, or you could just look it up on the web. You could easily just look it up. What are some standards for roof design? Just look it up on the web. And how does the roof affect the energy use of the building? Just look those up. But you want to put your roof plan view in here. So let's look at the roof plan view. Remember that was my level 2? There's my roof plan. Once you've got your thing made, it's pretty quick. And then the floor selection is really, except I hid it. So let me come back here. That's this. So that's how I might go through this. If you want to do the floor selection more like take a snip of that shows all the different floors, you could do that too. Except it kind of goes away. It's hard to get. You have to have a better snipping tool than what I've got, because I've got multiple monitors, so it doesn't want to snip it very well. Okay, so let's see what the last part is here. Oh, make a topography. So that's where we're at now. So before I go on to make a topography, which is pretty, you're going to find it's pretty quick. Are there any questions on the other part? Notice how it sort of steps through it. There's a wall, there's windows and doors, there's a roof and a floor. And I really don't care too much if you got the shape just right. I put it in there so that you can sort of start looking at it, but it's not super important. Are there any questions on those 3 slides right now? Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Topography plan view. Okay. This is usually done in the site plan view or the 3D view. That's the most common places to do it. So I'll do it in the 3D view. The first thing I want you to see is notice these funny little lines here. Those are just elevation markers so that you can sort of see what's going on and how tall things are. You don't really need those. So if you click on one and then right click, you can hide it in that view. And I can either hide just that one, which is called an element, or I can hide the category. So I'm going to pick category because I want to do all of them that happen to show up. There we go. Now I've got a little bit cleaner one. And I'm going to go to my top view, although it doesn't really matter too much. Okay. So now, to make a surface, I go to the tab called Massing and Site. And it's a little bit hard to see because in Revit, these are little tiny words. I don't know why they make them so small, except people who really know this program just get zipping along and don't even worry about it. Massing and Site. Okay, and I'm showing you about where it is. Click. And then I want to make something called a topo surface. And you can kind of see what a topo surface is. It's the surface. It's the topography. And those little lines that you see mean that if you walk along one of those lines, you'll always be at the same elevation. It's called a topo map. But we're just going to make a topo surface, a topography. What does the surface look like? Click. And then right next to the X and the check, which are easy to see, there's a weird looking thing. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but it says place point. So that's how we're going to make it. You can make these in lots of different ways, but we're going to do the easy one called place a point. And we're going to say that on our site, the elevation of the building, it's going to be at 0. Now, every site is different, but I'm just going to make it easy for you. And you just go and make a whole bunch of little dots all around it. Okay? And of course, if you had a plan, you'd put those dots in according to the plan. But we don't have a plan right now. We're just putting them in. If you're a landscaper or a civil engineer, you'll figure out the plan. And we'll have an opportunity to do that next week. Okay, so now once your site is in, usually there's some topography, and I'm asking you to make this kind of go up in the back. So there's a 2-foot height, and I'm typing in 4 now. Here's a 4-foot height, and now I'm typing in 6. So it's going to go from 6 feet tall. So if I was standing right here, my eye level would be just a little bit below that because I'm not quite 6 feet tall. I'm a little less than 6 feet tall. Okay, and I'm even going to go down. I'm going to go negative a little bit. -2. Somewhere down here. Like, most driveways go down a little bit. And then when I'm done making it, I have to do this green check mark, or it won't let me do any other work in Revit. Click. And there it is. There's my topo surface. And if I want to look at it, I hold the shift and the wheel down on my mouse, and you can see, yeah, isn't that cool? I can see that sort of goes down over here and it goes up over here. Got a cool little building, and that's kind of neato. So that's all I'm looking for. What does it ask me for here? Topo plan view. Okay, a plan view means you're looking straight down on it. So I can do that from there. That's a topo plan view. There we go. Make it smaller, put it in here. There's my topo plan view. Now you're just going to have to listen to me because I'm going to tell you what are some of the drawings that you can make from this. I'll put them in the chat for you. Stormwater pollution prevention plan. Drawing. Drainage. Drawing. Topo map. Drawing. Site plan. Drawing. Grading plan. Drawing. Utility plan. Drawing. Parking plan. Drawing. Hardscape. Drawing. Planting. Drawing. These are just some of the drawings that get started with a topography plan. Just some of them. Okay? Almost always you need to have some sort of a topography plan to start with. Now I want a 3D topo view. 3D topo view. There we go. And maybe that's a good one. Maybe that one shows it a little bit better. Maybe that one shows it pretty cool. That one's kind of neat. You can kind of figure out how you want to show that. And you can crop these and do your good work with them and all that kind of stuff. What can you get from a topo view? Well, let me click on it. Well, I can get surface areas, a projected surface area, and an actual surface area. Those are two of the main things that I get from it. Okay. It also tells you the phase from it. You can say if I've done some demolition or some digging or some drawing, I can get all that. The main thing you get from these are elevations and areas. I'll write that down for you. Elevations and areas. So if you're in here, you're getting all that. Maybe I better make a snip of that. So everybody can see it. Okay, there you go. Those are some of the drawings that you can get from it. And now you've got a record of it. And from this now you can get elevations and areas. Let's see what might come up next. Ooh, a section view. This is so cool. You're going to love this. Now, I have to do my section view from the site plan drawing. So here's my site plan. Watch what I do. I go to this tab called View. View. And there's Section. And I'm just going to go whap. There's a section. I don't care where you go. Section. And I'm going to squeeze this down. I just grabbed this little arrow here and squeezed it down. Now, over in your project browser, it made a new thing for section views. But I think you can just go double click on it. Somewhere you can just go double click. There it is. Isn't that cool? I just made a section view. This used to take us so long. This took forever to make, which is not always a good thing. If it takes a long time to do it, then it means that there's jobs and work. So many drafting and design positions have been eliminated by Revit. There's far less work because of Revit. But if you know Revit, you can be one of the people that does have work. So I'm going to take a snip of that. Isn't that cool how quickly that gets done? So what's it showing here? It's showing the ground, the slopes, the elevation, and the building. I just think that's the coolest thing. I think it's totally amazing that so quickly we can do that. So let's see how that works again. I go to my site plan. I do View. It's the View tab along the top. And I click the Section button. The Section button. Click. They make one go some weird way. This was so hard to do before. And double click. There it is. Wow. And I get some of this weird look. That's kind of a weird one. Not a very good section because it's looking at it all weird. Might want to get rid of some of that, but that's how you do it. My other section looks much better because it's much more normal. Okay. That's it. Now, I made you a little tutorial for this, and what I expect you to do for the Revit Architectural is watch the tutorials from the playlist. There's one on getting started, on walls, windows and doors, roofs and floors. So I want you to watch all of those for this one, and I put one of these in the playlist too. And of course, we have today's lecture and the other lecture. Well, that was really cool. Any questions at this point? All right. Well, that's straightforward then. I'm just going to mention one other thing, and I'll see if I can pull it up. I've had a few people tell me that they're not able to see the videos very well. They look all fuzzy. So I'm going to play one of these. I'll do this one. And, oh, there it goes. So I want you to notice that sometimes it looks sharp and sometimes it doesn't. You get to do your quality here. And if you have your quality set on automatic, it knocks down the quality if your internet, if it doesn't think your internet can handle it. It's watching what your streaming rate is and how much it's buffering and all that kind of stuff, and it'll actually knock down your quality. So you want to come in here and probably change it to HD at least 720 and do the HD 1080p. I record higher than 1080p so that when I put it onto YouTube, I can set it for 1080p. So you should all be able to get 1080p, which isn't like sharp, but I mean, if you look at it in 360p, look at, I'm not sure if you can see the difference right now, but it's really bad. And that might be how it's coming across to you, or even 144. Look at that. And so you want to make sure that your settings are on the highest possible if you're having any trouble seeing it. Now, I try to describe what I'm doing and use this little pokey diagram thing so that you can see about where things are. But I understand, but it's really hard. It would be better if you were on my screen directly. But this is about as best as we can get. But do keep that in mind, that how you do your playback does make a difference. And I didn't really realize that it was a setting we had to make until a few people were telling me how horrible the videos were, and I'm going, "Come on, looks so good. What's the matter?" And then I found that. Okay. Any last questions before I stop the recording? Okay, then that sounds good. Remember, do take a chance if you can to read some articles. If you can, plan to be there. I am going to record it, But if you are actually there to participate, you'll get some points, and you'll do just fine if you don't. It's not like it's not a requirement, because it's not a requirement of the class, but I think you'll get a lot out of it. Okay, well, have a good afternoon, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for anybody who has last minute questions.